I didn't really have that much to say. I just wanted to make like a vaguely political like episode. Like strike while the iron is hot, as they
Oh
say.
god.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and my first thought was we have to get our political correspondent,
That's right.
our Washington correspondent, Raksha on.
Yeah, that's me. Definitely, yeah,
Thanks
the
for being
political
here,
corner.
Raksha. Welcome to a
Of
special
course.
episode of the Sneasel podcast. This is like just like I guess this is like a special election episode. So, we just finished watching the debate. So I wanted to,
That,
I wanted to
that's
talk about it because we all have feelings, you know.
that's
Of course. I
true.
mean,
I have a lot of feelings.
Yeah. Did you watch it, Anna? Okay. You're getting got by the robots a little bit. You're
I watched it last. Okay, hold on. I think I
Yeah, you
walked
do what
into
you
an
gotta
air
do.
service. Sorry.
You're walking?
you're walking around.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. It's
I
okay.
think I think better when I'm moving.
Hmm. All
That's
right.
good. That's a uh yeah. No. Good excuse. Did you have any like thoughts about it, Anna?
I thought that Biden really should have taken like cocaine or something before it.
Yeah, I was under the impression they were gonna pump him full of all sorts of drugs before, but
Yeah, there was a lot of speculation on Fox News for the past week. They've been talking about him like taking Adderall. And I think they like tried to drug test him before the debate. So I think they were like trying to not do that to avoid like a scandal, but I think everybody would be like okay if he just like took a mountain of cocaine beforehand. I think everybody would be a lot more happier, honestly.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
He should have.
it's not like people are unaware of like
Yeah, it's been known before. He's been he took drugs last time, the last debates, but I don't know who like thought it'd be a good idea to just send him out there au natural and just like be like, "Oh yeah, he can do it."
yeah,
Did
it's
you
kind of
see
been a
like
situation for yeah, go ahead, Anna.
did, did you see like the clip of the after party where he looks alert and like not at all sleepy?
Yeah.
Yeah, they probably
Uh
like just like shoved him like a fistful of Adderall right after the debate just to make
yeah. They're kicking in. I don't know. I was watching it. I was watching it on like a TV, and I was just like the entire time like Trump was talking, I was just drawn to Biden's face because he's making like these insane expressions and was
Yeah.
like looking off in the corner, and I was I was like, is he looking at Trump? Is he looking at Trump or is he just like zoning out? Like what's
He
going
looked like a
on?
dog who like did something wrong.
Yeah.
Um like he didn't know where he was at. I don't know if he was informed to him that he'd be like on the split screen, but he just did not seem like where he was at there at all. Like his entire body language and everything there was just so horrible.
It was
I think just like on
terrible,
a
yeah.
just completely optics level. I mean, Trump mogged him so hard. Like, there's just like there's nothing really you can say about it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. And uh, th- firstly, like
but
to
I do think that there's a lot of like interesting implications to it, though.
yeah. And also like firstly, before the debate was even like a thing, uh like Trump and Biden in like popularity polls were like kind of pretty solidly tied. And in a lot of swing states that there are now swing states that Trump has to win, like Nevada and Arizona and Pennsylvania and whatever, like Trump was solidly ahead.
Hmm.
Like like pretty solidly, you know, favored in those swing states. So now like I don't even want to know what like a projected electoral map would look like. I think
Yeah.
Yeah.
it yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we can definitely like try to extrapolate it, and we'll see. We're recording this so soon, we don't know the exact effects of it. But I think you could possibly make the argument that like nothing has necessarily changed because of the debate, because this kind of confirms everything and everybody's already thought. Like people went into it knowing Biden's old and stupid. That hasn't really changed. Like so like I'm not exactly sure how much it really moves the needle. I think it's gonna like maybe make people more disaffected and not want to vote. But
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'm wrong for this, but I would probably maybe have the hot take that not much could change from it actually. Um, Aside from maybe like internal fallout in the Democratic Party, which is very interesting to watch at the moment.
Yeah, basically, and like right after, right after the debate, like on all the major news channels, like MSNBC or whatever, I expected them to be like, kind of like in denial, like, oh, Biden did okay, like, he like it was like Trump was just lying all the time, but it feels like a wave of sobriety just like crashed all at once
Mhm.
over the Democratic establishment, and they're like, "Fuck, this is our candidate."
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, literally on MSNBC, like MSNBC is like the most pro-democratic. Like their entire thing is that they just try to spin everything for them. They literally said we could not spin this. Like it was bad. Like it was embarrassing. Um, and I think that's crazy, and I think it's so like unbelievable. All these articles that are coming out now, like right now, New York Times editorial board. Biden should leave the race. Politico that he should leave the race.
Someone
Like
should
this
take him
is
out
like
behind the shed and like kill him.
yeah.
They
Well,
should, they
that's what I
should
was
take him
thinking.
up to a
Like
farm up north, like an old dog who has rabies.
yeah, I was thinking like yeah, they're gonna put a hit out on him probably. Like I
Yeah.
mean, I think it's pretty hilarious. In the political article I read, it was so funny. Like anonymously to Politico, one of the Democratic congressmen said, "I picked the wrong day to stop sniffing glue." Um,
That's
um,
really funny.
like everybody's just in complete chaos. I think this is very interesting to try to imagine whether or not something's actually gonna happen. There's a lot of interesting things to think about there. I don't know. Personally, I think the chances are kind of slim for a lot of reasons, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
Like an upset of them doing something at the Democratic National Committee.
Yeah, I think for Biden to resign, yeah.
We can only hope.
Um,
Like,
yeah. I don't know. I, I I honestly have no idea. I've seen a bunch of conspiracy theories that this is what the Democrats have been planning all along, and that's why they agreed to have the debates so early instead of November. Um, or like sorry, like not November, but in like
Yeah,
September, like the
before the
fall.
convention,
Yeah.
before he's technically
Yeah,
nominated.
like
It does. Yeah.
this is like dangerously close before like the conventions to have, where you're supposed to like rally your base. So,
Hmm.
um yeah, the
Yeah, I think.
conspiracy
Yeah.
theory that they were doing this intentionally to oust him. So, after the voters have already had a chance to go to the primary, before the Democratic National Convention where they can essentially just like front the candidate they want. So,
Hmm.
you,
but I don't. Yeah,
I
I mean,
could
I think that's
actually
a.
believe that.
yeah.
It's possible. I think there's some interesting things some people don't know. The Democratic National Convention is actually like a little really weird this year. They announced this a few months ago. It's gonna be like half online. It's gonna be like very limited in what they actually doing. It's gonna be really drawn out. It's in Detroit this year, I think. And the reason why they did that was actually to try to prevent any protests related to Gaza, um, which is very interesting. And because they're really trying to, I think, prevent a sort of chaotic convention. So I think given that's the case, I think that could maybe signal that they're not trying to try to do anything there. They're really just trying to try to keep everything on the down low and try to suppress any sort of insurrection internally in the Democratic Party. Because I think, the signal that they're going to try to fall apart and try to scramble together really soon. I think that's like such a gamble that I'm not really sure if that would really work out, if I'll be honest. I think that like polling numbers wise, of course, every other Democrat's more popular than Biden. I mean, Senate races across the board in swing states, Democrats are leading. It's really just Biden who's driving everybody down. So, in theory, anybody placed above him would be better. But I think somebody placed who is not democratically elected, somebody who's like a signal of the Democratic infighting, I think that really gives him more of a bad look, honestly. So, I'm not exactly sure if it would really happen. My bet is that it wouldn't. But the immense like conversation about it right now is definitely interesting.
Yeah, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this was kind of the issue with in like 2016 with Bernie Sanders, and also in 2016 with Trump, in that the Democratic National Convention and the DNC is like less democratic than the RNC, like the whole issue with like super delegates or whatever, and it was essentially party bigwigs who were choosing the nominee, like essentially,
Yeah.
like what it came
Well, it
down
it, it
to.
it came out later in 2016 that it was like overtly, I think it was in WikiLeaks, that like the Democratic National Committee, they did try to like rig it against Bernie, and it was like it was pretty overt before. I mean, he lost with super delegates. Super delegates are an undemocratic institution. The entire Democratic establishment went against him, and that happened again in 2020, of course, with the crazy like Super Tuesday like coup that happened, basically, where everybody coalesced around Biden, um, which was probably done by Obama himself. I mean, the
Yeah,
Democratic Party has been known, yeah, for sure, to really do this. And maybe they could see him polling it now because people might complain that like it's anti-democratic, but nobody wants Biden there. So like, I'm not sure if people would exactly complain, right? Like, there's not many people who would be like, "Oh, I really miss Biden. I'm really upset that Gavin Newsom's here now." I mean, I feel like there's not gonna be too much of an anti-response there. So maybe that's what they're gonna think about. It's certainly possible. But I don't know. I'd kind of doubt it. Um, I think also you could definitely say that I think there's sort of a greater conversation that some people are kind of ignoring with the debate. I think there's a lot of implications of what Biden actually said and how he was acting that sort of is I think, more of a signal of existential decline of the Democratic Party than even his like cognitive decline currently. I think that the real danger for the Democrats is 2028, not now, because I think that they're setting themselves up for such failure that it's going to be disastrous either way, especially this year. I mean, the fact that during the debates, I mean, Biden, when he was asked about Gaza, he said, "Oh, I love sending weapons to Israel. I love Israel." On immigration, he was trying to hit Trump to the right, saying that the border patrol supports him and that he's stopping more immigration. Both true things. I think that they're completely abandoning all their youth support. And I think that's the real danger to it, because I think that you put anybody in regardless. I mean, even like someone like Gretchen Whitmer, who's like supportive of the progressives. I think that most young people are not going to be supportive of that at all. I think that minorities are definitely changing. And there's the entire Democratic Party base that they've relied on is sort of completely disappearing. And I think that there's a serious threat to the Democratic Party in terms of their actual voter base, not just people upset with Biden. So I think that honestly, they can really try to do whatever they can, but they're just gonna fail regardless. I think it needs a complete restructuring, and that's not gonna happen this year. But there needs to be a complete restructuring. Otherwise, they're completely screwed with whatever outcome there is.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's it's kind of a little bit over.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is it's over.
I'm saying it's Joever. Yeah,
Yeah.
as some people would
Also,
say.
like during the debate, like Biden was just like randomly like making the "it's Jover" face, like bowing down, like turning his head like in an opposite direction.
Oh, just putting his head down in general,
Yeah.
like,
And
it was
also and
Yeah.
also
awful.
like opening his mouth and like staring in like a different corner.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It looked like there was no soul inside of him. He's opening his mouth, but it's pitch black inside. It's very scary, honestly.
Yeah. and like
Yeah,
and like the pretty serious issues like the war in Ukraine and like Palestine like were just not really covered at all, and he did a really not that great job of, you know, defending his, defending the White House at this time and his policies. So
yeah,
yeah,
he
it is.
really he really said no policies at all, especially with the foreign policy there. Like, he didn't say what he was going to do in Ukraine or Gaza. I mean, I don't think they really even have an answer, honestly. Their answer is that they support Israel. Um, like, they don't have a response. I mean, that was the case with the entirety of the debate, and I think that's another reason of why Biden completely failed. Like, he was consistently just like attacking Trump, instead of actually naming his own policies. And I really honestly think that nobody cares. I think that he can say that like he said like, oh, presidential scholars all voted he's the worst president of all time. Like, I don't think anybody gives a shit about that. Like, nobody's gonna be like, oh yeah, yeah, presidential scholars said so, I'm not gonna vote for Trump then. Like, he needs to have actual policies, but he didn't name a single policy. Even when he did like try to say something, he was like, "Oh, we gave money to infrastructure." I don't think anybody knows what that means. Like, he doesn't have any specific actually actions or policies, so he's not inspiring or interesting at all. There doesn't really seem to be like any sort of like upside to Biden that he's presenting. I mean, of course, if you understand politics, that there might be, but it's just really not there at all. And he did not frame it at all. He went in with Trump on all the personal attacks, and they just made it some, stupid like pissing contest.
Yeah, where they talk
There was
about
no
their
actual
golf
policy there.
handicap.
Yeah, that was just fucking ridiculous. I mean,
Did you see
it,
the
it was just
clip?
disappointing.
Did you see the clip where Biden is like Biden goes after Trump and he's like, and you had sex with the porn star while your wife is pregnant, and Trump like he like nods and he goes like, yep, yep, I did do that. And, like smiles a little bit. Okay, yeah, okay. This dude has a point. Like, yeah, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Like the little nods and the body language, yeah. And also like at the very at the very beginning of the debate, like when Biden was kind of like going off the handle and like giving responses, Trump was like, they were like, "Oh, Trump, can you give your response?" And Trump was like, he's like, "I didn't understand a single thing Biden just said," and he's like, "I don't think Biden did it either." And that's just like kind of like a good debate tactic,
Yeah,
just
he
to
cre-
like
he destroyed him pretty well.
totally
Yeah.
not understand what your opponent is saying and just
Mhm.
continue hammering on like what you're going off about. Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah,
crazy.
he should have done that more. He should have been doing like, what the fuck is he talking about faces the whole
Yeah,
time. Like, it would have been he would have completely destroyed him if he really pounced on that.
yeah,
But sadly, Trump was trying to like lock in and be like smart then.
yeah,
He's really
and
trying to
also
act presidential there.
let's consider that this debate format is probably like it's like bowling with the lanes up because they were muting them, but there was no live studio audience, right?
Hmm.
They were muting microphones when they weren't talking, and like they had like the rules were like clearly defined. Like they weren't allowed to like
Yeah.
talk over each other. Like there was little room for you know,
Yeah, actual discussion
to
there.
like
Um,
And
them to go
and they
off the rails. Yeah,
and they rarely actually responded to like the actual questions.
yeah. The yeah, like Jake Tapper and the presenters at CNN were not being very assertive with, pressing them on questions. And they kind of just got their time to talk about whatever the fuck they wanted. Like,
yeah.
there was no like, oh, you have to actually respond to the question. Yeah.
They would
Mhm.
always say it like the question was about blank, and then they would give another response not in response to
Yeah.
the question, and then nothing
Yeah,
happened.
that was just giving them more time to talk and keep going on their shit. It was pretty funny, honestly. Um, but they were just trying to move everything. I mean, they were just like connecting crazy dots. I think like Biden connected like an abortion question, and he ended on immigration. Like, they just all just kind of just like were going around. I don't know. They didn't seem like they knew what they were doing, honestly. Um, but it was just like very just weird. Um, but I think it definitely advantaged Trump, honestly. I think the fact that there was no like any sort of like responsibility for anything. Like, there wasn't an audience to try to back up anything, maybe, or anything like that. Um, and I think it kind of just made it seem like a he said, she said thing. So when they were like trying to press him about like his felonies and stuff like that, He kind of could just make it so it's like he just attacked Biden the entire time, and it kind of looked like they were on equal footing, honestly, even though that isn't the reality. So I think Trump is pretty advantaged by the rules of the debate.
Yeah. Like, I don't think Trump supporters care like a fragment about his criminal conviction.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's definitely polling wise, people claim that they care, but I'm not sure if that people really care. I think that, I mean, everybody knows that Trump is like, corrupt and evil or whatever. I think they knew that in 2016. Like, they still voted for him. I think people are more care about like actual material issues. Um, which I don't think Trump actually presented well. I think Trump, honestly, he should have deflected more. He did not like denounce the January 6 people. He didn't do anything like that. Um, and I think that was a pretty bad move, honestly, for Trump. I think that there's many ways you can interpret it that he kind of failed in a lot of ways. He really just had to be normal, and he couldn't let himself be normal. Like he took the question about January 6th. They're like, "Oh, do you certify the elections?" And then he like finished it talking about Nancy Pelosi, and said it was Nancy Pelosi's fault. Um, which is definitely supportive of like I don't know his base, but I think those people are just going to support him anyways. So I don't really get that strategy there.
Yeah. If he gets reelected, he's totally gonna like retcon the 2020 election and like and be like, oh, like I definitely won. I definitely won last time, and I won all 3 times. You
One all
know?
three. I'm the first three-term president actually.
Yeah, yeah. He's literally gonna keep gaslighting the country into thinking he won until like we're just like, okay, fine, maybe you did win. Maybe there was election fraud.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much his strategy. He's held on to it. I think most people like when they watch it and he's like they talk about his felonies and he's like, oh, Hunter Biden, the Democrats said yada yada yada. I think people were like, oh, maybe he makes some okay points. Like I think like independent voters, people are stupid and don't know about things. They're gonna be like, all right. I mean, they both claim each other are doing bad things. Whatever. Like I really don't think that really moves the needle, which is really bad because that's like the entirety of Biden's strategy. It was entirely like Trump is bad, Trump is unpopular. I'm gonna attack him for it, but he just looked like a loser just calling him names. Like it didn't really seem like anything was actually made there. It really seemed like Trump controlled the conversation in that sense, which is very dangerous for the Democrats.
Yeah, honestly, I felt like Biden actually had like some steam and like a okay chance of winning the election until the war in Gaza started and the US
Mm.
continued to support Israel. I think like because after that like a lot of steam was just taken out of Biden's sails and from like the most important people in the Democratic Party. Like on a like I don't want to say like like everything is about like young people or whatever, but that's a significant part of the party. Um so
No,
and like kind
yeah.
of just like totally abandoning those people and like certain people specifically just like um just like not catering to them at all and like pretending that they don't exist and claiming that those types of people are like, anti-Semitic or whatever, or, like evil or whatever. It kind of just ruined, it's kind of just like fragmented like his support.
Yeah, I mean, before the Gazan war, I mean, if you listen to like Chapo or something like that, they were saying like, oh, Biden's a pretty good foreign policy wise. I mean, yeah, like he pulled out of Afghanistan. Like a lot of lefties really like that. The infrastructure bill was popular. I mean, I think there definitely would be similar narratives still.
Mhm.
But because of the Gazan war, like everything is kind of blown up in his face for sure. I think it's a completely existential threat to Biden because I think even though there's this massive young people leaving, and they're not leaving for the Republicans, which is why I think they can keep getting away with it. I think all the protests that were happening this year, and I think how that's going to keep ramping up for the rest of the year is not something they would have expected. I think they would have gone through it differently. I think they are just stupid in ignoring it. And I think that them still relying on this pro-Israel stance. I mean, they have to do it. This is just what the Democratic Party is, but it's a horrible existential threat to the party. And I think that if the Democrats were to even to win this year, somehow, it would be pretty horrible and over for them over the next 4 years. I think that the amount of people, young people, who are so disaffected by the Democratic Party is a legitimate movement, and has some political bearing at this point. I think that it is really dangerous for the Democrats in their future, and I think if they don't make any pivots, which they won't, then they're kind of fucking screwed.
Yeah. It might be interesting to like. Uh, I think for a little bit, it kind of seemed like Biden. They were kind of like he was trying to get the war into like a favorable position, where he could claim that like oh like I've been a net positive for the situation like in Gaza, or I helped negotiate or resolve like a peace deal, but I think that's definitely not gonna happen. So honestly, the DNC might just want to like stick in like a fresh face who doesn't have the power or like authority to do stuff with Gaza, right? And then since they're unchecked, right, you can't really protest them on those grounds until they get into office.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's gonna be inherent with the DNC that they're gonna take APAC money. They're never gonna nominate anybody who is not a Zionist. So I think regardless, they're kind of lost with all that support. I think Biden is certainly hated by young people, but I'm not sure if that's really necessarily gonna change if anybody else, I'll be honest.
Yeah. Well, see, Biden is already responsible for killing kids, so you have to choose between him
Yeah.
and someone who's going to be responsible for killing
Yeah,
kids.
exactly. I
Yeah,
mean, it's pretty bad. And there's a lot of reasons. I think the immigration thing is another thing. I think climate change wise, I really don't think any environmentalists are in support of him. I mean, Biden tried to ban TikTok. He did ban TikTok.
yeah,
Like that's one of the big things that young people know about his presidency. I think that they're pretty much just like completely throwing it out. Like they do not care about young people. They do not care about people. Um, they are pretty subservient to their money at this point. And
yeah.
that's kind of
It's
just the stance they've gotten.
yeah. Going to vote is kind of like choosing to shoot yourself in the kneecap or shoot yourself in the brain. It's like
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
there's really no reason for a young person to want to support Biden. I don't really see it at all. I think honestly, like in some ways, the only way for the Democratic Party to survive, um, would be for Trump to be in office and for all the opposition to be moved towards the Republicans, so then it can look more united in 4 years. Um,
oof, it's over.
Hello.
what's going on?
Sorry, I was
Hello?
having kind of bad connection issues. Yeah,
I think
Oh,
that
okay.
we all were.
yeah,
Yeah, I was seeing my bars go down.
yeah. Did you see the thing I sent about the New York Times editorial board urging Biden to resign?
No,
Yeah.
no. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what people have been saying for like a while.
yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying it now is pretty good.
Yeah, it's yeah, stuff is just slowly so disheartening. Have you guys been paying attention to the Supreme Court rulings?
I heard a little bit about it, but not. I don't understand it completely.
They kind
Yeah.
of so one of the Supreme Court rulings is it was in the past it had been established that banning people from sleeping in public or whatever was cruel and unusual and therefore unconstitutional. You can't do that. And now that's not the case. You can essentially make homelessness illegal. Um like this particular Oregon bill or whatever. And also I need to look into the details, but there's the Chevron case with the Supreme Court, and essentially like it being done away with by the Supreme Court opens the door for like a bunch of breaching of regulations, and so companies can and like a dismantling of a lot of the infrastructure of like regulatory entities. So it makes it a lot harder for, you know,
Yeah.
like food quality to be good or whatever. Just like, yeah, I don't
The
know.
Chevron decision specifically, what it is that it prevents. There was a decision made in the 80s that said that within regulations, if it's like unclear, it's defers to federal agencies.
Yeah,
What has been overturned now is basically saying that if there's no, if there isn't something very specifically listed within the law, it cannot be deferred, and it's just like does not apply. Which basically means that anything that's not explicitly like labeled exactly can be argued that it's not illegal. Which kind of like in some ways you could say it undermines the entirety of like government's ability to function. Um, we'll see how it's used, but it's definitely not a good look at all.
Yeah,
yeah.
that sounds grim.
I think it's gonna suck, and we have to contend with the Supreme Court, this Supreme Court, for like, like multiple more years, like 40 more years.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, it's pretty disheartening. I think that Sotomayor probably should have resigned like 2 years ago. I think it was probably RBG's fault for not resigning during the Obama administration. I think that they should be resigning. Well, obviously the Supreme Court should be reformed, but I think that they really need to get rid of the idea on the liberal side that is not political. That's just not working out for them. Republicans don't care. It's not appealing to anybody. Um, like it is a political body, and they have to treat it as such, and they have to make political appointments. The Republicans are. They can't pretend to go, high on this. I think that there needs to be a shift in that sort of strategy there.
yeah.
Mm.
Like,
But yeah.
mhm. Like, yeah, it's kind of a bad situation. It's so funny, like Biden like saying, "Oh, if I'm reelected, I'm gonna reinstate Roe v. Wade." It's like, dude, that's your fault.
Yeah, he's elected right now. Can you do it right now, or could he have done it beforehand? Um,
Yeah,
the idea that they kept pushing was that, yeah, they don't have enough senators. Guess what? They're not going to have enough next time. There is no scenario in which Biden wins with control of Congress. That's just not like physically possible because of how the Senate seats are delegated this year. Um, so he just won't do anything. He'll do even less regarding this. So it's pretty much just Joever on that front. Um, like I it's his only argument is that Trump could push a federal abortion ban, but that will never happen. Abortion is like the one thing that moderates are pretty strong on, that they do not want an abortion ban. They're pretty against a lot of the abortion bans that are going on. The actual specifics of Roe, and this is something I think Biden did spell out pretty well, is the most popular among people. Roe v. Wade is a very popular decision, and they should be running more on it. But because Biden does not look like he's really done anything, because he hasn't done anything really, they really have no argument. So it's really difficult for them to try to capture that narrative, even though that they are so popular and in the right here.
yeah. Also, like the entire ruling with Roe v. Wade is very concerning because it essentially did away with the legal precedent and justification of the right for privacy, which was the one thing like protecting marriage equality and like all these laws that are enshrining like civil liberties. Like the legal justification for those is just like gone.
Hmm.
So if a case like that were to come up with the Supreme Court, like people would just be like fucked, like totally. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's possible, but I think at this point Oberfeld probably won't be overturned. I mean, I think well, actually this
You'd
is
be saying, I don't, you don't want to say
I don't want to
anything
say
because
that. I
like,
don't want to jinx it. It's definitely possible. I think it might be realistic,
I
but
mean,
I
I mean,
think
not that, I mean, not it specifically because I think that's getting to the point, but where it's like people are like, okay, but like something different, like a different issue with like trans rights or whatever, could definitely be like, you know,
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, I think that's definitely a risk. That's been a risk. I don't think like loving Virginia is getting overturned. I think that's a little bit silly. Or like I've heard people say that.
Yeah,
That's an erased thing.
interracial. I mean, I mean, literally, the legal precedent for like interracial marriage is like for the banning of interracial marriage. Is like gone. Like it's over. Like
Yeah, I mean
um,
it's technically possible, but I think anybody would be insane to do that.
yeah,
And I don't know, like Clarence Thomas has an Asian wife, so it'd be a little silly for him to do that. But I think this is certainly, yeah, dangerous possible for trans people. But I think there's something really interesting actually back to the debate. There wasn't a single question about trans, and Trump never brought it up. He never used the word wokeness or anything like that. Which, if we were like a year ago, you would 100% expect that to be what it's all about, right? So
yeah.
I think
Well,
that in some
I
ways,
don't
it's
think.
a good look, good news for trans people, honestly.
Yeah, well, I don't really think that specifically is in like Trump's heart. I think like a lot of people around him try to like get him to be aggressive about that, but you know.
Yeah, I know he doesn't care. He's openly kind of said that he advocated for civil unions back in like the 2000s. He ran in 2016 saying he was the first pro-LGBT president, which was wrong. When he was in office, he signed things against it. But he said a lot of things like he said before, like I think recently, like last year when the wokeness stuff was happening, he was like,
Mhm.
yeah, all this stuff was invented. I never heard of this a couple years ago. I don't know what the hell is going on here. They're telling me all about this weird thing. It really seems like everybody else is telling him. He doesn't really care. But it's still true that, he'd get in office and do something. But it really doesn't seem like that's what Republicans are really caring about at this point. The trans issue maybe has passed, which I think is very good. It's good news. Let's let it pass. Let's not talk about it. Let's not remind them. Um,
Yeah. Um, you guys do anything fun recently?
I've been hanging around in Massachusetts. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, the we got it. We got operatives in every corner. Yeah, I was thinking it's kind of funny now that Anna is in Ohio and Paige is in Atlanta and I'm in like Philly because those are all like they're like very like memeable like
Yeah.
probably like the most like memeable cities you could probably come up with, at least in
Well,
America.
Ohio isn't a city,
Oh yeah, yeah. I forget that part.
but it is definitely the most memeable in the whole country. So
Yeah. Yeah, people don't believe you when you say you're from Ohio. They think you're joking.
they actually do. It's fucked up.
Do they actually say that?
Yeah,
They're like, "Oh, you're making a joke."
they literally do think I'm like not serious.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of your fault for living in Ohio.
So true. I should have been chose to be born
And
somewhere
also
else.
and also it isn't a coincidence that Ohio became like a meme like state. You know what I mean?
Well, it's been meme for a long time.
Yeah.
Nobody likes
Mhm.
Ohio. Ohio fucking sucks.
It's kind of just like
Full offense.
Midwest, but like not enough Midwest. Like Scott the Woz is from there. It's kind of just
My goat.
like Jake Paul, Logan Paul.
Yeah, yeah, the Paul brothers are from there. That's true. They're
Yeah.
very much Ohio boys for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody wants to go to
You'll get
Ohio.
Columbus, Ohio.
LeBron is from Ohio.
Wait,
Yeah,
LeBron
like
is from
basically
Ohio? That's
I do not know
crazy.
LeBron's from Ohio.
I don't know. I don't
He's
watch much
famously from Ohio.
basketball.
But that's like his thing. He's from
What?
Cleveland.
I didn't know he
Yeah,
was
he's from
from
Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland.
Well, he's from Akron, Ohio, specifically.
Oh,
But he's famously plays on the Cleveland Cavaliers, or did.
yeah.
well, I didn't know that.
Like so many astronauts are from Ohio, and the running joke is that Ohio is so bad they have to get as far away from it as possible.
That's true. That is a running joke.
Hmm,
Yeah.
interesting.
I'm looking at Twitter. There's a whole bunch of like new Silent Hill 2 merch.
Are you gonna buy any?
Um No comment.
That
I
means
think I
you're gonna
already
buy
have
all
enough
of
like
it.
Silent Hill 2 merch. There's like there's like Silent Hill 2 like shorts. That would be kind of funny. There was a hole here now, but it's gone. Like some of these are like kind of like weirdly lewd or whatever. Um, which I wouldn't. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's kind of funny like the reputation Silent Hill 2 has like nowadays. Like no one has played it, but like everyone talks about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've never played it.
Hmm.
I've never played it.
Yeah, well, of course you haven't. You're like
I'm a
born like
normie.
5 years after it came out.
Well, it's in the remake. It's very popular, right?
It's not
Everybody
out
remake.
yet. Yeah.
Oh, it hasn't come out yet.
Hmm.
Hasn't there? Oh, but there's been like Silent Hill, like other remakes, like Silent Hill 8 or something, like something weird like that remake.
I think you might be thinking of Resident Evil.
Oh, Oh, I am thinking of Resident Evil. Sorry, I don't play the
Yeah.
other ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why you're a political correspondent, not a
That's
gaming
right.
correspondent. Yeah.
That's right. I'm too locked in.
Yeah, that's me. That's my job. You guys have anything else to talk about? We might it might be
Not
good
really.
to, pause it here, like a good like bite-sized political episode.
I
Uh,
can't really
Yeah.
think of anything.
Yeah. Okay. I think we should go. I think we should go through. I think we should go through and we should take everyone's predictions for the election.
ooh, okay.
You can like okay. There are three options to your predictions. Okay, Trump, Biden, or other Democratic nominee.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Probably if I had to guess right now, Biden.
Yeah.
Hmm. Uh,
I think that they're not gonna nominate anyone else. I think it's gonna be Biden. They're gonna front Biden, and I think if they front him, he's gonna lose. I think people should start preparing for the reality of a second Trump term. I think people in red states should be considering means of leaving. Oh, what about you, Raja?
I've had a lot of thoughts about this. All my knowledge together, I will have to say I think Trump is gonna win.
Yeah,
I think Trump is gonna win, but I do think Democrats are gonna win the House. Hot take.
yeah,
So
but
it's gonna be weird.
that's
It's gonna
not
be a
the
weird
question,
term.
is it?
Yeah, but still, caveats to it. Either way,
Yeah.
But what's possible? What actually increased on like the New York Times like election tracker? It was like a 5. It went up to like 5% chance they tie. So maybe
Mhm.
that can happen. Maybe that'll be fun.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Honestly, I am so convinced of Trump winning a second presidency. I would put money on it now at this point.
Yeah, I mean,
'Cause-
he's
Yeah,
pretty
because
ahead in the polls.
like the Democrats are just like so fragmented. So
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's not getting any better for them. Like, it doesn't really like Biden couldn't really do anything to try to really make it better. What I was saying this back before in like 2020, what the reason that they were saving it in their pocket, they're gonna legalize weed. Maybe he's gonna legalize weed in like November 1st and just see what happens. Um,
yeah,
maybe
as
that'll
like a
work.
last ditch to like
Yeah, I
yeah.
think that's the only reason they haven't done it yet. They're keeping it in the back of their hand. But
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Rockter. Thanks for doing an episode on short notice.
Yeah, of course. I love it.
Yeah.
Love being here.
All right. Goodbye, everyone. Oh wait, Rockter, where can people find you?
Where can people find me? Rocktra _ on Twitter for
Okay.
bangers.
Yeah, I'll plug you. All right. Bye, everyone, for this time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.